Hello and welcome back to Buckle Up. I'm Harry King and this is my personal car, my Dacia Jogger. It's just gone over 30,000 miles during my ownership, so I thought it'd be time to do another long-term test review video, ownership update sort of thing, since you all liked the last one so much. So, here we go. I suppose let's start by talking about what I've had to do to the outside of the car since my last update at the 12,000 mile mark, 1 year into my ownership. I'm now nearly 3 years into ownership, but what have I had to do for this car in that time? Obviously, I'm in the UK, we haven't come up to an MOT yet, so far no MOT checks, none of that work. It has had its regular scheduled servicing with the dealer on so far my plan, so I haven't paid anything for servicing so far. In the time since I bought this car, Dacia have now introduced a scheme by which if you continue to service your car at the dealership, they will continue to honour your warranty and extend it. So it looks like I'm going to have to keep using the dealership for the foreseeable future, and we will see how those costs are the next time I do one of these videos, I suppose. But otherwise, I've had to do the front tyres finally. Not because the tread ran out, but because I went over a nail. So I did the front two tyres. The back tyres still had over 50% tread wear. So my plan is to replace all four whenever the next ones go. I did the fronts with actually some fairly budget tyres because it was a short notice thing. I just need to get some tyres on the car really quickly because I had to go somewhere the next day. And actually, they're grippier than the standard tyres were, which I was sort of expecting. They're very, very eco-focused tyres, the standard ones. But interestingly, in the time since I've had these fitted, my MPG has actually gone up to an average of 45. It was previously around 43. So I'm not really sure what the benefit of the OEM tyres are, and I would recommend changing yours out to literally anything else, because these really are cheap Chinese tyres, and they're just doing better across the board, really. Slightly noisier. The one other thing I've come up against, and I've moved around to the back now because it's in this area, is on a very sunny late winter day last year, around February time, I was reversing in a car park. The camera was a bit road salty and the sun was coming right into my ears and right into my eyes, and I was sort of relying on the parking sensors to know when to stop. Because I was reversing up to an edge of grass. So I thought, oh, I'll feel it when I go onto the grass. Turns out I didn't feel it, and I reversed into a tree and cracked one of the rear tail lamps. Now, this was an important lesson. These lenses are not sold separately. You have to replace the entire unit if you damage one. The cost is not terrible. I will have to dig out the receipts to tell you the exact figure written on the screen now. It was all under £300 for fitting and everything, so really not that bad, but maybe surprisingly expensive if you're used to something where you can just replace the exterior shell. Or, importantly, don't be like me, don't be an idiot. Just don't feel like you have to tuck all the way back into a space. Wouldn't have happened. Really, really stupid move on my part. But as you can see, I'm over it now, even though it's over a year ago. Also, I just want to draw your attention to the general griminess of the car. This is intentional. This is to show you that this is my daily driver. I do clean it from time to time, but I'm really not precious with it. It just doesn't work for me to be too precious with it, with the way that we like to use it, especially in regards to this channel. But I think I'll hop inside and tell you some more there. How are things held up in here? Well, I've got to say, pretty darn well. There's a bit of loose trim down in the corner. That was loose on the day I bought the car. It's not got any worse. Everything else looks pretty much the same as it did when this rolled out of the showroom, which I think is very impressive, especially because, as I've just said, I don't particularly keep the best care of it in terms of cleanliness. This car is used and abused. It still drives us to lots of our events. It's done a lot of long distance driving in general. Changed from last time, I now have a day job where I do commute a long way, sometimes Leeds, sometimes Newcastle, sometimes Manchester, which is a fair old way. So that's part of the reason the miles have racked up to such a great extent. But also we are doing more events now than we ever have done before. The difference now is more often I do get to go to those in a press vehicle and save putting the miles on my own car, but this is still very much there to be used and abused if needed. Is there anything about the car that I've started to fall out of love with, is the real question, I think. As a long-term owner, I've had this for a really long time now. What are my pain points, my little irritations? I've got to say, the clutch is still irritating, and actually in general this is a concern of reliability for the Jogger, is the manual gearbox and the clutch. I'm happy to report there have been no issues in this, and that's not for lack of trying, definitely. And this definitely just get put through its paces, but the gearbox seems solid so far, knock on wood, but the clutch engagement is still weird. I still have wobbly, nodding donkey gear changes sometimes, even though I should be completely in tune with this car by now. It's just a slightly fussy engine gearbox combo, quite turbo heavy on the engine, difficult to keep it super smooth without being very gentle with all the inputs. The other thing, and it's a thing I don't think I've ever mentioned actually, is the sound system here is naff. Now apparently the Extreme car gets an upgraded sound system. This is not something I was aware of when I originally spec'd my car. Bad research on my part really. I thought it was just an upgraded screen itself and not the speakers also. But yeah, maybe could have sprung for that in hindsight. My wife still dislikes the lack of heated seats. Again, if I'd gone for the Extreme model, I would have got those. And I don't like the fact that they did a facelift about 3 months after I bought the car. So it immediately looks dated and old because it's got the old Dacia badge on it. But I don't care enough that I'm going to go out and get a replacement grille or anything, or replace the entire car just to get a new grille. That would be silly. In general though, it's still very lovable. Yes, it doesn't drive like a luxury saloon or a Rolls Royce or anything. The engine's vibey, it's a 3-cylinder, especially at idle. But in terms of general refinement, it's probably going to be more refined than if you're coming to it from some used hatchback. It's comfortable, the seats are supportive enough. I've done very long distances in it, and it's still, you know, very reasonable to run. There's been no mechanical faults with the car at all during my ownership. There's been no great unexpected expenditure. There's been no time sitting waiting for warranty work to be done, which I think is, you know, what most people want out of a brand new car, is just to be able to use it and it be reliable transport. And this is certainly that. Couple really small niggles, but otherwise I've still got to say I would thoroughly recommend the Dacia Jogger to anyone. It's a very good car. Very practical. Let's go wrap this video up. So I think it's fair to say in general I'm still a very happy customer. There isn't anything on the market right now that I can think of brand new that I would want to buy instead of this. Certainly for the money, nothing comes close. Still an excellent buy if that's why you're watching this video. I'd thoroughly recommend one. This has been absolutely rock solid and reliable. I've had no proper big issues that weren't of my own causing, or just would have happened to any car, like the tyre getting a puncture. Now, I did say earlier in the video that we'd go over servicing costs next time I do one of these videos. But here's the thing. I'm not certain how much longer I want to keep this car. As I've just said, there is nothing brand new that I want to replace this with. And if I'm being logical and sensible, and certainly advising any of you out there who aren't petrol heads, I should keep this car. I should just keep this car, pay off the finance. I've got a great rate, small settlement at the end, and probably run it until it doesn't go anymore, because that would be the smart thing to do. It's economical, spacious, cheap to insure, cheap to run. But I'm sick in the head, basically. So I've been thinking about maybe going back to driving a used car. Obviously, the last time I had one of them, it was costing me £150 a month in repairs. But you know, it's an itch, and you've got to scratch. You've got to scratch it, right, guys. So if you want to go down to the comments and maybe say what you think I should do. Should I keep this? Should I buy? Oh, I don't know, like an old E-Class estate, or maybe a Jag XF estate, go back to Jag, or maybe look at, I don't know, a 4x4 SUV. I do like off-roaders and off-roading. Write in the comments, what would you do? Would you keep, would you swap, and what would you swap to? Let me know. And otherwise, thank you so much for watching the video. There are 2 ways that you can support the channel. So we have channel merchandise, link in the description. We also have channel memberships right here on YouTube. And then also, if you want something that won't cost you anything, go down to the description. All of our social medias are there. Please go follow us in all of those places. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.